welcome everybody. And thanks, Liana, I'm never going to get it right, Liana, who's joining us and sharing some Hañsa Flow with us. So classically, we've been starting off lying down, and let's start lying down just to get into some breath work and get ourselves a bit more present, focused here. So just get yourself nice and comfy as well. One of the things that I'm real keen on is that we take care of ourselves and we're kind to ourselves. And one of the first things is about being comfortable in your, or certainly as comfortable as you can be in your lying down position with pillows under your head and neck. If you have a little, if your lower back is a bit compromised, please put something under your knees. It tends to flatten your lower back towards the floor, which can be helpful. And take a moment just to maybe quieten down the mind's chatter. See how quickly today you can let go of that chatter and come in to be more present. And part of becoming more present, using your focus of your mind, your breath and sensations in your body. So maybe just for a moment, have a contact with or awareness of the sensations of the posterior part of your body that's in contact with the floor. Probably your ankles. If you're lying flat on the floor on your back, parts of your lower legs. Probably not knees for most people, parts of your thighs, probably more upper thighs, buttocks, probably not lower back, mid back, upper back, shoulders, parts of your arms, hands, head. Just keeping your mind quiet as possible. Such an important tool to be able to just be present here without the mind's chatter and the continue trying to sort out what's going on in the world. So having a break is really important. And take your awareness just for a while to the movement of your belly. Most of us are familiar with having some relationship as the diaphragm, with our diaphragm as it descends, your belly bulges. An exhale, which is just a letting go and a recoiling as the air comes out. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And maybe have your inhale, maybe a count of 4, pause of about 1, and an exhale just a bit longer, maybe a count of 6. It tends to support us to go into the more parasympathetic system, the rest and restore. Belly breath tends to be more grounding for people, more nurturing. No strain, just easeful. And also maybe have an appreciation that with every breath, every movement of your belly, there's a movement of your internal organs, abdominal organs, massaging your organs. So the freedom of breath Making sure that you also don't restrict any subtle movements of your, or any movements of your thoracic cage as well. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And now take your awareness to the posterior part of your rib cage, that part that's in contact with the floor. And initiate the movement of your breath as with the back part of your rib cage, allowing air to come into your lungs. But we've been working a lot with this over the last 3 months or so, having more awareness, versatility of the whole of the thoracic cage, starting off focusing on the back part. As you breathe in, there's more pressure and yielding into the floor. And as you exhale, this is softening as air comes out of your lungs. And if that 4-1-6-1 works for you, keep that timing going of your breath. Keeping your mind quiet as possible, present as possible. When thoughts come, they will. That's okay. Just try not to give them too much energy. Allow them to be as fleeting as you possibly can. And taking your awareness now to the lateral side of your rib cage, between your sides of your body and your arms. And allow for that movement, expanding lateral. The inhale, pause, exhale, pause. There'll certainly be movements, other parts of your body, other parts of your rib cage, your belly also maybe. But keeping your focus primarily on that movement laterally. And now shifting your awareness to the front part of your rib cage, the part that we have a little bit more of an intimate relationship with. And initiate your movement of your rib cage, your breath, front part of your rib cage. Expands to the ceiling, there's a pause, there's an exhale, a recoil. No right, no wrongs here, just an awareness of whatever's happening for you in terms of your mind, your breath, your body, your presence. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And now your whole rib cage is one functioning unit, the front, the back, the sides, up, down. And allow for some generosity of breath to stimulate, move, or you move and then there's a stimulation of air coming in. It's all an exchange, an atmospheric pressure change. So as I expand my rib cage, the pressure in my rib cage is less than outside of my body, and air just automatically comes into my lungs. The universe wants us to breathe, and we just assist that by our relationship that we have with our own physicality. All of your rib cage, one functioning unit. And now shift your awareness to a place just below your rib cage, below your xiphoid process. And imagine that there's a ball or a sphere that's deep in your belly, just below your rib cage, and initiate your breath from there. So as that ball gets bigger and bigger, expands, going down, initiating movement of your belly, but also your thoracic cage as well. So allow freedom of movement, both abdominally and thoracically. Not necessarily trying to get your breath in any one particular place, but just allowing for some easeful movement. Just keep that movement going for a little bit longer. Inhaling, pause, exhaling, letting go, pause. Trying to keep your breath real smooth. And if you find some little juddery area, then that's a place of exploration. No right, no wrong. And then while you're lying there, I'm going to switch over and get Liana, my friend from Hañsa. You might have to unmute yourself.
Okay, perfect. Nice, everyone. So I will just put, okay. So if you can stay lying on your back, and if your legs are long, you just need to draw your feet to the floor and your knees to the sky. And I'm just going to lead you through what, if you're going to come to a Hañsa class, we would start with this, some form of this, and it's called the seed practice. And what it is the movements of the pelvis that we would learn as a baby. And the one that I'm going to do with you is in the pelvis, and it only resides in the pelvis. So you try to move just the pelvis. It's a very small, subtle movement. And the movement patterns, I'll just talk it through, is a homologous pattern, which would be a forward and back motion. Both sides of the pelvis would move, and then would come into a lateral movement, the sides of the body, and then a collateral movement, which is rotation. So we're going to start off with the homologous pattern. We repeat the pattern 6 times, and every time you do that movement, we just make the movement smaller and smaller and smaller again. And by the time you get to the 6th repetition, it's just the thought of the idea of the pelvis moving. And even with the thought, you will notice an engagement of the body. So homologous, yeah, we're going to start to draw the tailbone towards the floor, and your hips, the pelvis will start to draw slightly towards the sky, and your hip creases will deepen a little. And the space for the lower back and the floor becomes a little bit bigger. And then you just soften and relax your pelvis back to where it was. And once again, you do that movement again. it's a little bit smaller. And then you soften and repeat. Yeah, because we're listening quite quietly to the subtle body, it means your attention really refines to this very small movement. And because the system is one thing, you will start to notice other movements in the body. And as you get to repeat that 6th time, you'll notice that just with a thought, there'll be an initiation down in the pelvis. Nice. And just when you're ready, coming to an end of that homologous pattern, and then you'll come to the lateral movement. And the pelvis stays on the floor. It's just a gentle hitch of your right hip, just slightly up towards those lower right ribs. And then you just soften and release back. And then you take that to the left side. And the left hip will slightly hitch up towards the left ribs. And then relax back. You're repeating that on each side in your own time. And notice what you notice and how they differ from one side to the other. You'll notice perhaps there's a different engagement of muscles from one side of your body to the other to make that movement happen. And as you repeat it, the movement gets smaller and smaller again. Good, and taking your time to allow that lateral movement to come to an end. And then this co-lateral movement's a little bit more tricky to maybe apply. So we'll take our time. I'll explain it first and then you can go ahead and do this. So allowing your legs to try and stay from not swaying from one side to the other. So you're going to allow your right side of your pelvis, almost like the pelvis has got water in it, and you're going to pour the water more into the right side of the pelvis. It's almost like the right femur bone starts to draw into the floor. The left side of your pelvis will slightly lighten. You'll feel your left foot connect into the floor a little bit, and the left knee will glide a little bit towards the front of your mat. And then you just soften back, the pelvis becoming full on both sides, and then you'll take that into the left side. So the left side of the pelvis will weight into the floor a little. Your right side of your pelvis will lighten just a little bit off the floor. You'll feel your right foot connect because there's that cross-linking pattern, and the right knee will glide a little bit towards the front of your mat. And then you just soften and release that back. And just repeating that co-lateral movement. So the knees aren't moving too much, so it's quite a small movement. Yeah. And you could think of this movement like walking. Yeah, like when we walk, we pour more weight onto one side, the pelvis will lighten, the leg will step forward, and then we'd weight bear onto the other side, the other leg would weight bear, and you'd lighten and reach the leg forward. Because this is a co-lateral movement, a twisting movement, you will start to feel through the rest of the spine a relationship of this. Perhaps you can feel the shoulders ground a little bit more. Maybe you can feel something in your eyes. And you can just take your time to make that smaller, and then you will allow yourself to rest with that pelvis. Good. I'm going to keep going, Paul. I hope that's okay. Okay. So you've just done the movements of the pelvis, which you could do in your thoracic cavity, and then you could do it in your head. And we isolate the movement just in the pelvis to then reintegrate that movement. Because when we come into bigger movements, that's the movement the pelvis will do. But because it's bigger, maybe we can't hear so much of that very intimate relationship that that movement has with the rest of the body. I am going to take you through and ask you to come on to all fours now, and I'm going to take you through the Hañsa sequence. I actually might just show you it once so that you have an idea of where it goes. So it's on quadruped, so it's on all fours. If you feel like you need a blanket for your shins or knees, because if you have knobbly bits on your knees or any kind of and I'll do it facing the side. I think that might be the best. Okay. So you'll come into a quadruped position, and we'll just take a gentle, humble cow first, and then you'll come back into a little soft cat. And we'll probably just do that a few times, but I'll just show you the sequence so that you know. Okay. So we do a little humble cow, and then you take your foot out to the side, so it's an internal rotation of the leg, and then you open it up as you soften and round back into your cat. And then you just come forward back into your arms, and you take a little reach up of the left arm towards the side. Yeah, and then I call this a swimming action. It's like freestyle. If you do any swimming, you soften back into the hip as the hand glides forward. Yeah, we come into a lateral movement, taking the shoulder to the leg and reaching over. And then we just basically come back with the hand, and you turn your leg and your bottom to sit into an easy crossed legs, and then you fold forward. You bring yourself back, cross-linking pattern of right hand and left foot to press, to come onto your shin, and then come upright. And then you just fold the leg in underneath you, and we take a lateral stretch to the other side. And we come up to release. And we just take a little folding in, a little cat. Hands run through the midline to create the idea of our spine and linking into the spine to reach up. And then we just soften the elbows, release back into the hips, find a gentle forearm child pose, to then press back into the legs to find table. And that's all we do. It's okay, we'll do it nice and slowly, and we'll repeat it. So the idea is that you try to memorize the movement so that you can take it in your own timing and flow. And I'll just add on a few things, and I'll keep doing it with you. I hope that's okay. Okay. It's quite difficult when you have to wear glasses and you can't really see anything. So, yeah, I know, right? Okay. All right, so when you're ready, you'll come into table. And this beautiful relationship, I love the quadruped, being on all fours. It's a little bit further away from the ground, so we have to have a little bit more pressure and tone and awareness of our relationship with gravity. So you want to make sure that you do feel like that your arms are just slightly pressing into the floor so that you're not dumping your head down. Yeah, there's a sense of buoyancy through the back body, a little bit of tone into your front body. Yeah, and we want to direct the arms and the knees into the skeletal relationship that they have. So the hands are directly underneath the shoulders, and the knees are directly underneath your hip sockets, so not too wide with your knees. And can you feel the 5 curves of your spine in this position? So 5 curves being your sacrum, yeah, and then running into your lumbar curve, up into the thoracic, into the cervical, and then your base of your skull. And we'll just do a little cat-cow to start off with. So we just do a very humble cow when you're ready. We're not over-exaggerating the neck or the lower back. And then just folding back and coming into a little cat position. We let the weight pull back into the legs, the elbows and the hands can soften here. Yeah, a little push into the legs to move the weight forward into the arms to come back into your humble cow. Nice. And we'll just do cat-cow just for a few rounds. We allow the weight to move forward and back just because it gives that nice relationship of how we let the bones sit and how they can sit into their little capsules. And as you move through your cat-cow, noticing if there's any favoritism to one side more than the other. Also, you're trying to create a relationship with the two hemispheres of your body. So if you're thinking about the diaphragm and how it splits the body in half, and then you have a north hemisphere and a south hemisphere. And can you make those two hemispheres move at the same time? So the next time you come into the cow, does the crown of the head and tail arrive at the same time? And as you move back into your cat, do they arrive at the same time? Good. We're going to come into a gentle asymmetrical cat. So when you're ready, you'll take your cow and then just pause in your table. Yeah. So your left foot's going to go just outside of your mat. So there's a little slightly internal rotation of your thigh. And then you just open up the knee towards the toes, external rotate, and you just soften around the spine back into your right shin. Soften elbows, soften hands a little. We'll come back into the arms and just replace that knee and foot. And we'll do the other side. So take a gentle cow first, soften back into your cat, and then we'll do the asymmetrical cat on the other side. So you'll come back into your cow, and let's just do the right foot when you're ready. So right foot draws to the outside of the mat, open up that right knee, and soften and round back into your left shin. Good, you come back and draw the knee and shin back. Okay, I might just keep going. So let's come into the cow. Let's do an asymmetrical cat with your left foot. Left foot, open up that knee, soften and round into your cat. Good, come back into both arms. Yeah, and then you're just going to press your right hand into the floor, which will lighten the left, and you spiral your torso to the left side of your room. The left hand comes above the shoulder. You're going to do that swimming action. So you're going to soften back into your right hip as your left hand floats back towards the front of your mat. And then you're going to glide your left shoulder towards your left knee, sit back into your right leg, and do a lateral stretch with your right hand over to the left. Yeah. So if this is too much for your knee and shin, you can always come up onto your shin and sit upright. Good. Okay, and then we just glide the right hand back, and you're going to fold your right leg underneath you and come to sit. You're maybe somewhere towards the side of your left side of the room, and then we take an easy cross legs. Yeah, and then we gently fold forward over our thighs. Nice softening and reaching and lengthening of the crown of the head. Yeah, you feel your legs, and you can press them just gently into the floor, which will allow the torso to float back up. Yeah. Your right hand goes back to the mat where it was. Your left foot will find the floor, and you're going to press up and come up onto your right shin. And then we pop up all the way up onto the right shin. Yeah, the left knee just folds underneath you. And you draw the foot back. And then we take a little lateral stretch to the right this time. The left hand floats over. And you want to see if you can still connect into your left knee and shin into the floor. And that will draw you gently upright. And you just release your right hand down. Your left hand down. We come into a little folding into our hips. It's like a little cat on our shins. You draw the hands in towards your midline. And you take a breath in, if you like, and reach up. And then we just soften the elbows. We soften into our hips. Release the arms back, and then draw your forearms to the floor and come into a gentle forearm child's pose. Let the back of the neck soften. To come back onto all fours, we press gently into our legs And allow the weight to fill the arms once again. Groovy, groovy. Let's try and do the other side. Yeah. So take a gentle, humble cow. And when you're ready, your right foot will glide to the outside of your mat. You'll open up the right knee and soften back into your left shin and round the spine. Taking the weight forward back into both arms. You'll then press your left arm into the floor, spiral the rib cage towards the right side of your room and draw the right arm towards the sky. Take that swimming action. Soften back into your left hip as a hand glides to the front of your mat. Draw your right shoulder to your right knee and draw your left hand over towards the right. Lateral stretch through into the left rib cage. Taking your hand back to the floor and you'll fold your left knee and sit gently onto your bottom, drawing your legs into an easy cross legs, the right shin's in front, and we'll soften forward over those legs. So that's the homologous pattern, and then as we come up, we sit up, the right foot, left hand, there's a cross-linking pattern that happens. We press into them to draw the left knee and shin to the floor, press up and come up. Then the right knee will fold back underneath us. And then we'll take the lateral stretch to the left side as the right hand floats over the head. Connect into your right knee and shin and press that gently into the floor to draw yourself upright. Release the right hand. We take that folding in as a little cat on our shins. Soften back, you can inhale, reach up, lift up. And then again, that recoiling of softening the elbows, softening into the hips, and releasing the forearms gently to the floor. Toning still through into your front body to press back into your legs to find your table once again. I think we could just do it a couple more times here to see if you can come into your own flow and timing. Just being mindful of where you're placing your hands and knees to suit you. Good. Let's take a gentle, humble cow, and then we'll take the left side. Left foot opens, left knee opens, soften back into a little cat. Yeah, we'll press into the leg to draw the weight forward into the arms. Right hand presses as we lengthen the left side and spiral up. Left hand comes up to the sky. Good. Soften back into that swimming action. Left hand folds forward as you soften back into your right shin. Left shoulder to left knee and float the right hand over towards the left. Lateral stretch on the right side. Hand floats back to the floor. We find a little rolling onto our right buttock and find an easy cross leg position with the left shin in front. And then you can fold forward over your thighs. When you're ready, you press the floor away to draw the spine back upright. Cross-linking pattern of right hand, left foot, press into the floor to draw the right shin to the floor, and then press to come up. Good. Left knee comes in, lateral stretch to the right with the left hand floating over. Knee and shin press to come up, and we release the left hand down. Good. Nice little cat rolling in, reach up to lift up. And then you take that softening of the elbows, softening into the hips, and that little gentle forearm child's pose. Soften the back of the neck, and then press back into your legs to find your table once more. Good. So you can try and make this next little sequence on the right to flow a little bit better for you. Take your time, but you'll come into a gentle, humble cow, and then you take your right foot to the outside. You open up the right knee and soften into your left shin. Transfer your weight back into your arms. Feel the press of the left arm to spiral that chest around to the right side. Right hand floats up towards the sky. Softening back into that swimming position. Right shoulder to right knee. And take the left hand over towards that right side. Yeah, floating the hand back to the floor and folding your left leg underneath you to come to sit. Easy cross legs. Right shins in front and gently taking the torso over your legs. Yeah, pressing into the legs a little to draw the torso up. That cross-linking pattern of left hand and right foot. It presses into the floor as the knee and shin come underneath you to press up onto your left shin. Hold your right knee in, back underneath you, and float yourself into a lateral stretch to the left, with the right hand floating over. Press into your right shin to draw yourself up, and release the hand down. Take a little cat position on your shins. Run your hands up through your midline, thinking about your spine. And you can take the hands up and reach up. And then when you're ready, softening the elbows, softening into the hips, and find your child's pose. When you're ready, you'll come back onto all fours. I like to do things in threes, so we're just going to do it one more time. Yeah, and because maybe you know the pattern a little bit better, perhaps there's a better coordination and timing and rhythm where you have a sense of softness and ease throughout all the movements. So we'll take a gentle, humble cow, an asymmetrical cat. So the left foot will go out, open up the knee and soften and round back. Bring your weight forward when you're ready to come into that press of the right arm to lengthen the left hand up. Take your swimming action, folding back into the hip as the hand glides forward. Take your left shoulder to your left knee and sweep the right hand gently over. Take your time to draw the hand back and shift your right leg through and onto your bottom. Let the left shin fold in front. And taking the pelvis through and rolling over your femur bones, coming into that softening over the legs. Nice long neck there. Take your time to press into the floor to draw the torso back up. Cross-linking pattern, right hand, left foot. Press, draw yourself onto your right shin, and then press up onto that shin. Fold the left knee under, and take the body over to the right. Left hand floats over the head. Connect into your left knee and shin to draw the torso gently up and release the hand. You can take an exhale as you fold gently in towards that little cat. Inhaling to reach up. And then we soften the elbows, soften the knees. Allow the forearms to find the floor. Once again, pressing up to find your table. And coming gently into your humble cow. Then your right foot will shift out, and then your right knee will open out and round into your cat. Slowly making your way back into your arms and take that gentle push into the floor with your left arm to spiral the chest up towards that right side. Little softening back into your swim. Right shoulder to right knee. And the left hand floats over. Take your time to draw your left hand back to the floor and fold your left leg underneath you. Come to sitting, allowing the right knee and shin to fold into easy cross legs as you fold forward. Good, come up when you're ready. Cross-linking pattern, left hand, right foot. Presses into the floor, find that left knee and shin to come up and stand up on your shin. And then you take the right knee and you to find your lateral stretch now to the left with the right hand floating over the head. And then we come upright when you're ready and we soften the hand. Taking that little cat on the shins, rounding the spine, push into the legs to reach up and to lift up. And then you take your time to soften into your final, last, humble child's pose. Good, and then take your time to find your table. And I can move now back to Paul. So that was your little taster of Hañsa. It gets more complicated as we come to standing.
That was awesome, thank you. Anybody want to say anything? Thumbs make a noise just to, or should we just keep going? I can't see all of you. Should we just keep going? Yeah. Yeah, no. Wave if you want me to stop. No, it's all good. Fantastic. We'll talk more about it at the end. That's great. So up in me, and let's go back to lying down on your backs. And again, having your feet flat on the floor, so your knees pointed to the ceiling in constructive rest. And just take a moment to allow yourselves just to settle and appreciate the movements that you've done, letting go of any difficulties that you might have had with it, if you did have any, or curiosities, but just appreciating that your body's gone through some real lovely movements. And just very gently allow both legs just to go to the right, just about an inch or so, not much. And then come back to your knees being upright, and then very gently, just an inch or so to the left. Legs coming back up to upright. And then to the left and to the right, just a little bit more every time, but just small amounts. So taking it really gently and easefully, so the movement really stays really well within an easeful range of movement for you. And you'll probably find that yourself just allowing that movement to increase by an inch or two each time. And if you want to work with the breath, and if this works for you, the pattern of when you're lifting your legs to upright using your inhale. There's a pause when you're upright, and when you go to one of your sides with an exhale. And pause in a position holding it to the side, and allow your legs to go slightly deeper into that range of movement. And then again on an inhale, bringing your legs back up to upright. So just taking your time, easefully exploring movements both to the left, to the right. You feel the change in your connection and awareness, different parts of your hip joints, your iliums. And one of the things with this is how smooth can I move? How well can I use my breath with the movement, with the pattern? How is my mind here focused? The three pillars, mind, body, breath, working. Just an exploration. Breath, movement, mind. And if you do find your legs getting closer and closer to the floor, and you find that you've either as close to the floor as you can get, or one of your legs is on the floor. Leave that leg on the floor, and the leg, your other leg, allow that to start to come to upright. And the leg on the floor gets involved only when you feel the ligaments and the fascia engaging. And when you feel that engaging, allow the leg on the floor to also participate in the movement, becoming slightly more upright as the other leg goes towards the floor on the other side. And now the upper leg takes over the movement to rejoin, or closely to join, the leg that's on the floor. And then repeating that movement, leaving the leg on the floor, your upper leg starts to come upright. There's this range of movement that is not engaged, and then you might feel some engagement somewhere within the fascia of your ligaments, fascia and ligaments. And the other leg gets involved, comes to upright as the leg nearer the floor comes to the floor. And just go back and forth a number of times doing this in your own pace, but certainly not too fast. If you go too fast, then you miss out on so much rich information for yourselves of where you're feeling ease, where you're feeling tension, how you can use your movement, mind, breath to ease some of those. So this is your two sides of your hips, your two iliums in relationship to each other. And then allow both legs to come back into upright, feet on the floor, knees pointing to the ceiling, and just allow yourselves again just to settle for a moment. Seeing how that feels, or feeling how that feels. And crossing your right leg over your left leg so that both legs are real snug. And allow, when your right leg's crossed over your left leg, allow for a little bit of movement again just to the right, just an inch or two. Inhale coming up, pause, exhale to the right, just a little bit more movement, pause. On the pause of the breath, go slightly deeper into the engagement. Inhale coming up, pause, smooth, gentle, mindful, focus, present. And increasing the movement so that both legs get closer to the floor. They probably won't get very far to the floor unless you've got real flexibility. Some people might get real close to the floor. And it's not about having that big stretchy sensation, it's more about the engagement, the gentleness in the engagement, and not going to a place where you react. So this is a responsive movement. And then when your legs are close as they can be to the floor, just allow them just to sit there for a moment, and reaching out with your opposite arm, your left arm, reaching out opposite direction, and at the same time also looking at your outreached hand and holding this contralateral movement just for a moment. Returning your arm and your head, returning your legs back to upright, uncrossing your legs, and now cross your left leg over your right leg. And very gently on an exhale, allow your legs both to go to the left. Pause with your breath, just a tiny bit. Inhale, coming upright. So have this exploration of the small movements as well, and the more focused that you can become, you'll find the environment gets bigger, and there's such rich information in small micro movements or small movements. Exhale to the left, pause. With your breath, allow yourself to go deeper into the engagement.
Inhale, helping to bring your legs back up to upright. Pause. Exhale. And you'll feel your fascia engaging in different places. Maybe it's your hips, maybe it's the outside of your hips, maybe your knees, maybe your back. Wherever there's that compromised area or more tensions, just allow for some gentle engagement, nothing too much so that you have to react. And then again, when you find your legs both either on the floor as close as they can, extend your left arm, right arm, opposite direction, looking at your right arm. Just another contralateral movement. And maybe just allowing the few breaths here. And then returning your arm, returning your head, returning your knees to both upright, uncrossing your legs. And just for a moment again, just settle in the position of constructive breath, seeing how you feel. You can do minor movements and adjustments of your body so that you can settle easily in relationship to the floor. And just stay on the floor, and I'm going to pass you back over to my Hañsa friend. I've pronounced your name wrong for so long, it's so difficult to try and shift it.
Funny. Okay, we'll stay on our back. I'll just lead you through another little very gentle Hañsa flow that is basically a couple of movements, and then you'll sit up into another lateral stretch. So we'll just place our feet maybe just a little bit wider than our hips and draw your arms, perhaps a 45-degree angle, and draw the palms open. And you'll just take a gentle mini bridge here. So you'll take your pelvis up when you're ready. And I'll do it with you, so if you need to see, I'll be with you. So you just draw the pelvis gently up, and then you'll just soften down through your spine. And then just very casually, just like you're lying in bed, you're just going to fold and roll over onto your right side. Try not to draw the knees together though. So you just gently roll over onto your right side. Yeah. And then you're just going to press and come to sit up. Yeah. If you want to, you can take the torso forward over your right leg, and then you'll sit up. So you should be in like a deer shape where your left leg is internally rotated and your right leg is externally rotated. And then you just fold, take your left hand over towards that left side and reach your right hand over. And then you just soften your torso around back to the floor. Your right hand will find the floor to soften gently back onto your right side. And then you just gently roll back onto your back and find the feet come to the floor and the knees come back up towards the sky. And that's all the movement is. So we're back into a constructive rest position, but the feet can be slightly wider than your hips and the palms are opening up. And we just take that to the other side. So when you're ready, you just press into your legs and arms and gently lift your pelvis into a little mini bridge. And you can soften gently down through your spine, letting one vertebrae mount back into the earth. And again, that very casual, soft movement of folding the knees and rolling over to that left side. And as best you can, you allow yourself and your torso to roll through into a circle, like a semicircle, and taking the right hand all the way towards the right shin and reaching your left hand over towards that side. We soften back through, so we can allow the head to come around in like a semicircle, allowing the left hand to find the floor, gently rolling back onto your left side, and then taking the feet to the floor and the knees come back and the hand gently opens back into that first position. So can we make now the movement flow a little bit more into each position, so that it's almost like one movement. You could imagine that you're in water. So take your time to gently lift the pelvis up. We float the spine back into the earth. We take everything over to the right side. And we can roll now your torso in a semicircle, so it comes from forward, over the thighs, and you find your lateral stretch with your right hand floating over to the left. And then we make that come back, so it comes back the same way. The right hand finds the floor. We mount our body back down to our right side, and we gently roll back onto our back. Knees come to the sky, feet to the floor. Taking a gentle press into the feet to lift the pelvis back up. Mounting your spine one vertebrae at a time back into the earth. Taking that gentle rolling over to your left side, and then drawing that torso up to sit up and rolling to the right side with your torso and the left hand coming over. Then we soften and mount the torso back through. The left hand finds the floor. And we soften back into our left side. And we gently roll back onto our back. Knees come to the sky, arms open out. Let's just do it one more time. Yeah, I know the hard bit is probably to get up. Yeah. But if we keep the movement happening, maybe it helps. So take your time to come back into your mini bridge. And come down through your spine when you're ready. Roll over onto your right side when you're ready. And see if you can bring your sternum close to your right knee as you roll up. Use your hands to help you press the torso up and float now that right hand over towards the left. And feel that right ribs lengthening. And we soften and round back. Hand comes to the floor. We allow that movement to soften back onto our right side, and we roll gently back onto our back. We press back into the feet, come into your mini bridge. Then we come down through the spine. You're rolling now over to the left side, allowing the hands to help the torso move round into that semicircle and then up with the left hand towards the right. And then we again take the torso back, allowing the torso to fold back onto that left side and take the feet and the knees back towards the sky. And then I'll just end there and I'll pass you back over to Bone Yoga.
Thanks, Hañsa. You're on mute again. Cool. Can we come to kneeling for a little while? If you're happy kneeling, just kneeling on the floor, buttocks on your heels. If you feel a wee bit uncomfortable kneeling, then please put a bolster underneath your, just to lift you off a little bit off the floor. And you can do this sitting in a chair or even sitting cross-legged. I think this is slightly easier, just kneeling. And just settle for a moment, feeling the connection of your parts of your leg. Oh, I need to pin me, don't I? Because we're seeing Thanks. I was just enjoying looking at you, that's all. I forgot about me. Okay. Yeah, it's just feeling the connection of your legs on the floor, buttocks, heels. Have a little movement of your neck and find a position that feels neither inflection or extension for you. Maybe just also think about the position of your head on your first vertebra in your neck as well. And then maybe readjusting slightly your neck and feeling that connection going down your spine. And that weight is taken down the bulky part of your spine at the front. And gently placing your right hand behind your back without twisting your torso and head, so keeping your torso and head facing forwards. And then the other hand on your opposite thigh, still staying forwards. And allow this slight rotation position to just move into engage in your lumbar. So gently engage your lumbar vertebra. So your lumbar vertebra, vertical in their orientations, is only about 5% of movement, or up to 5% of movement that's available. So that rotation lumbar-wise is not so great. And then you come to the thoracic lumbar junction where you get your thoracic vertebra, and as you start to rotate now your thoracic spine, which are oblique in their orientation, allows for more rotation movement. But that rotation movement also being slightly restricted as we keep that movement going by your rib cage. And then when you've rotated your thoracic spine, then your neck can join in as well. The facets there also are oblique, but there's not the restriction of the rib cage. And return your neck, upper thoracic, mid-thoracic, lower thoracic, and back to lumbar and back into just looseness. And now again, just gently engage in the fascia and ligaments lumbar. And you might want to explore that feeling of engagement. Don't go too deep into it so that you react, but maybe allow for some gentle, soft engagement movement as we continue that rotation of your spine. This is the way that your spine is designed to move without big locomotion, gross muscle movements. So the movement is determined by the shape of the facets, your own individual makeup of your joints, and not dominated by my muscles wanting me to move somewhere. And then when you're next facing forwards, place the other hand behind your back, the other one gently on your knee, still with your torso and head facing forwards. And explore that movement and engagement a little bit more of your lumbar. And does it feel different this side for you? Is it, you've got more movement till you start to feel the fascia and ligaments engage? And then lumbar, after lumbar, thoracic, lower thoracic, mid-thoracic. And one of the goals, and it's not really that important, but one of them is looking at trying to move each vertebra one by one, but I don't think you really want to get too stuck on that. More looking at ease and freedom of movement. And just keep exploring that rotational movement to the left, and coming back in the reverse order: neck, upper thoracic, mid-thoracic, lower thoracic, lumbar. And then again, when your neck's facing forward, just have both hands on your thighs for a moment. Have a little bit of a play with the movement of your spine and your neck to get a place that feels easeful for you. And we've got choices, so let's place our hand again, right hand behind your back, other hand on your thigh. And we're going to do this a couple more times. This time move with your muscles. So I don't know quite how you were moving before, maybe you were moving with more muscles, but think about how you can engage that rotational movement by initiating that with your muscles. And does that change the way that you move? Is it more familiar with you or for you? Because we tend to be very muscle dominated. So the rotation is lumbar, thoracic, lower thoracic, mid thoracic, upper thoracic, neck. And then with my muscles, I'm recoiling neck, thoracic spine back to lumbar. And then swapping sides again. So my left hand is behind my back, my right hand on my left thigh. I'm moving with more my muscles, my relationship I have with the dynamics of musculature. No strain, no, just ease movement. And if you find some areas that feel a bit compromised, you might want to work a little bit slower through them, a bit more mind focus sometimes helps to change patterns. And then again, when you're facing forwards, placing your hands on your thighs for a moment. And again, once more, placing your right hand behind your back, your left hand on your thigh. And this time, do the movement with kindness. Whatever that might mean for you, engage in your lumbar, feeling maybe that thoracic lumbar junction when there's a change from that vertical orientation to more oblique. And just allowing the movement to be done with kindness, kindness to you, yourself. And recoiling. For me, I tend to go a little bit slower when I put that kindness into it, changes slightly the quality of the work. My mind is a little bit softer. And it's part of this for me is just really reiterating for me and reinforcing for me that I have choices. I don't have to be one or the other in my relationship to me, my body, my mind and the world. And then swapping hands over again, left hand behind your back, right hand on your thigh. Engage in your lumbar with kindness. Maybe that has a sense of ease for you. Maybe you engage in it really deeply. Maybe that feels kind for you. And no right nor wrongs. And then again, when you're just facing forwards, again, hands on your thighs. See how that feels for you. And just take yourself on a little journey again through your body, feeling that connection that you have with the floor. How's that for you? Is it easeful? Are you feeling more tension, movement? Maybe it's tingling more, maybe there's more pressure. How's your lumbar, thoracic? Position of your head and your neck, shoulders relaxed, allowing them just to hang on your rib cage. How your scapula doing? Allowing just for a moment some easeful of breath in your nose, out of your mouth, in your nose, gently out of your mouth breath. I'll pass you back on to Liana. Lucy's here, she's given me some lessons in pronunciations.
Okay, I'm not sure what to do now. I can't hear you, Paul, you're on mute.
Do you want to take us through a Shavasana?
Okay, sure. Yeah. It's probably that time anyway, isn't it?
Good. Yeah, so we can go back to lying down. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, perfect. Why don't we come lying down, everyone? Yeah. Make sure you are warm. So take your time to you could take any position actually. Yeah, if you feel like you want to just put your feet up on a chair or on the couch if you're close to a couch, or you can always put your legs up the wall too if you felt like you wanted to. But make sure you rug up. If you also wanted to place something over your eyes, just to we take our time to allow ourselves to come into this rest and restore position. And there's always layers of letting go. Just taking your awareness to the back surface of your body. And we can imagine that where your body is touching the earth is where the weight sits. Almost like sand in a glass, that sand is weighted. So your back body is weighted into the earth, which perhaps would allow a softness into the front surface of your front body. And you just take that awareness and let the dropping of the back body into the earth. And then bringing your attention now to the front surface of your body. And almost like there's like these tiny little suction caps on the front surface of your body. And the front surface is just lifting you up towards the sky. So now the weight of your body is coming up towards the sky from your front body. And the back body that's just lying on the floor has a sense of softness. And then you let that go. And now the weight of your body is in your bones. Yeah, the densest part of you is your skeletal body, which would then allow a softening of the back and front body at the same time. So we get this beautiful softening of the whole body as we lay on the floor. There's a releasing of tissues of the face. The eyes can really rest into their eye sockets. And we can always slightly Allow the mouth to part. You can lick your lips and just have a little parting in the mouth to help any tension out of the jaw. Your tongue is just sitting and resting in your mouth. The throat can soften. There's an ease and calmness to your breath. We allow the mind to find a little stillness and rest for a few moments. If your awareness has left the space, you can start to bring it back. You take your time to come back into your body. And you take your time to integrate a little bit of movement when you're ready. We slowly start to engage with the breath once more. Perhaps that yawning stretch and opening up of the face and tissues, allowing the nervous system to reawaken nice and slowly. You can start to fold the knees inwards and you take yourself over to one side. And you take your time to come back when you're ready.
Awesome.
That was great. Thanks.
Welcome.
That was really good.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much.
Namaste, everybody.
Namaste, Liana.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll hang around 5-10 minutes. Really happy to just chat. Any questions? So that was an introduction to Hañsa Flow, Vincent Bolletto's style.
Bolletta.
What?
Bolletta.
Vincent, is that right? Have I pronounced it? Bolletta.
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 You can call him Bolletto.
I will. I think it's way better. It's much more Italian, isn't it? How's everyone?
Good, thank you.
Good, wonderful.
Good.
I feel good. But this video will go up probably tomorrow or something on my website, so you can have another look at it as well. I'll also put some links up to the Hañsa Flow and Liana's web page. You got your own web page?
Oh, no, I'm not that professional.
Or some links up to some of the yoga schools that you also teach at as well.
For the Hañsa, I teach at Yoga Grounds, which is in Grey Lynn, on a Friday. And then in the cloud, the Hañsa, there is some Hañsa classes that we do. I'm one of the teachers there. I teach on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Yeah. And I think that if it's something you're interested in, the more you do it, the more you get out of it, obviously. Yeah. And there's different practices of it. So there's a couple of sequences that you can do and learn. And then you have something to take home and do a self-practice. And you don't have to do the whole thing. You can just take one section of it because it's divided into 4. And they, yeah, so you could just do one section of it if you wanted to do. And I say they're not hard, but they're slightly complicated in the learning of it, because it's good for as adults to learn something, because as we get older we don't learn so much. We don't have to engage our learning ability. So it's quite good for people to memorize things, because we start to lose our memory as we get older, and to keep that up as a practice is another way that Vincent likes to engage us. And also it's a practice, I feel like, that, you know, I could do that practice till I'm 90, you know, because it's not too, I don't think it's too complicated. And because with time and repetition you get better at it. I suppose like if you think of any artist or any athlete that is amazing at their thing, is that they have a rhythm and a timing to their body, which brings the grace and the ease to their movement. And I think if we practice the idea of that, then we can all take that into everything that we do, right?
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm going to do more. Vincent was one of my teachers at the contemporary school, and I enjoy. He's a real sequency. He's very poetic in his language and movement as well. So it is very, as you can see, it's kind of very kind of dance-like, almost choreographed. Really, yeah. Anyone got questions, sharings? No one's saying much today.
No, it was like a dance sequence, learning a dance sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody actually wants to be a dancer deep inside. Do you know what I mean?
There's all the dancer inside all of us.
Yeah, that's right. And as children, I think we really did do that. And as we get older, I think people fall away from the idea that we can still be childlike and play and playful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It was a bit hard for me to memorize it.
Yeah.
I like the flow. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You'll have to get back, do another class with us at some stage, eh?
Yeah, sure. I could take it to standing.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, we spend a lot of time in the bone yoga standing. I think it's probably the most important thing to do, standing in many ways. I'm beginning to have a different appreciation of that. So it'd be fantastic to do some standing Hañsa Flow as well. Absolutely. Cool. Oh, there you are.
I need to go to bed, so thanks very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Sleep well in England. Sleep well in
Will do.
You can hang on a little bit longer if you need to. Liana and I will hang around for a little bit longer and have a little chat afterwards.
I'll say goodbye too.
All good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.